Welcome back to the Response Drivers Podcast, where we feature top marketing minds and dig into their inspiring stories. Learn how these leaders think and find big ideas to push your results and sales to the next level. Now, let's get started.
Hey, I'm Rick Rapé, host of the Response Drivers Podcast. Here we dive deep with marketing executives, experts, and innovators to uncover how they approach targeted marketing and use data-driven strategies to acquire and retain new customers. We'll talk about what's working, what's changing, and how we can stay ahead in an evolving marketing landscape. This episode is brought to you by RPM Direct Marketing. RPM helps companies develop hard-hitting direct mail creative and utilize advanced testing and targeting methodologies so you can fully optimize your marketing performance to drive more sales and exceed growth expectations. With a proven track record, RPM delivers more profitable direct mail solutions so you can turn your direct mail programs into a predictable, efficient sales channel. Visit rpmdm.com to learn more. I'm really looking forward to learning from my guest today. I'm thrilled to have Christopher Erkelens on the show. Christopher is the founder and chief storyteller at Marketing Impact, a company that empowers purpose-driven brands to captivate hearts and minds through effective storytelling. With almost 20 years of experience in B2B, B2C, and nonprofit sectors, he's known for his unique ability to uncover the core of a brand's identity and craft narratives that inspire action. Christopher also serves as a senior brand and marketing strategist at In-House Strategy, bringing a wealth of knowledge in brand development and marketing strategy. Thanks so much for joining me on Response Drivers today, Christopher.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
All right. Well, can you start out by telling us a little bit about your journey into the marketing world and what brought you here?
Yeah, I had no intention of being in the marketing world when I first started, and I wanted to be, an entrepreneur, a business person, and I learned quickly that requires a whole lot of systems, processes, and a lot of back office administrative stuff. And I'm like, I want to get out there. I want to be able to tell the story of what we're selling. I'm so excited about this stuff. So I'm like, give me a shot, right? So I went to my boss. I said, go ahead and just let me write some copy for you. And sure enough, that was it. Like it was one of those first moments when I realized, oh wow, my words, my vision, my creative vision actually drove a result. And people started, they started purchasing because of that difference. And there was nothing different that they had done other than they told a better story. So I said, well, that's fascinating. Let me do it again. And so I did it again and again and again and again. And 20 years later, here we are. It not really changing much of what I do other than being super curious about story and understanding human nature. Love to read, love to communicate, love to spend time with people. And that's essentially what marketing is.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, what inspired you to create your company, Marketing Impact, and how does your company differ from other traditional marketing agencies?
Yeah, this is a bit of a scratch my own itch kind of situation. I was working in the nonprofit world, and I had been successfully recruited from one company to the next company, been poached into several times, and because my intention, my heart really is to make the world a better place. And I said, listen, like that, we have got to do this, and the way I know how to do it is through marketing. So I want to work with purpose-driven companies, and the way I understood purpose-driven was nonprofits. They have a charitable angle. They interact with people and make the world, they make the people and planet a better place. And I realized, wow, they can't scale. The nonprofit world is so limited by their revenue model, essentially, when in donations. And so you're depending on individuals, foundations, government, and public institutions to fund this, and the results can only be so incremental. I said, is there an opportunity in the world of business to actually create profitable businesses that are growth driven, our market, the market influences, our market drives whether or not something is successful, while at the same time making an impact in the world. and how do I get involved? Sure enough, I discovered the world of social enterprise about 5 years ago. Took a little side client. I was still working at one company, and they're like, "Hey, let me just do some branding for you. Let me just create that basic story framework for you, so that you can then go out and pitch this to the world." Nobody
Yeah.
knew about social enterprise where I live in Southern California back then, and in the short time since we started that, they've become synonymous with social enterprise. So I've worked with them, and it became a huge success. They started a fund, they started an incubator, they started multiple companies that are actually doing this in real time. And of course, the marketing component is an essential bit to be able to get that buy-in to resonate with audiences. So
Yeah.
that's how we got here.
That sounds so intriguing to me. I mean, it sounds really wonderful. Um, can you give me a little bit more of an idea of like the types of companies that you're working with and supporting and what you're talking about? I think I need to hear an example or two.
Yeah, that's not an unusual thing because we're like, hey, what do you mean? So let me start with somebody that I don't work with, but they're the industry with standard, the model. So everybody knows Patagonia, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Patagonia is, ubiquitous. Everybody's got their logo on, they know what they stand for, and they've become a luxury item at the same time.
Right.
But they're so committed to their people, they're committed to the communities they impact, they're committed to, eliminating waste. In fact, not just doing less bad, but doing more good than bad. And so they became like the uh the model social enterprise out there.
Mm,
Um, and so there are companies like that all over the place. So, for example, one of my clients, like they're creating an opportunity for people on Medi-Cal and Medicare to get healthy. We've seen a lot of these food box programs where you get like subscriptions and you get, or that's yeah, subscriptions. Like you purchase into it and all of a sudden, you start getting your meals and it's designed for you,
yeah.
but it was fully out of access for people with low income and high chronic conditions. So this company decided, hey, we're farmers. We know how to grow stuff, how to distribute stuff. Why don't we go and pitch this to the government and see if they'll pay for this? Well, the government said no, but the healthcare providers, so the big insurance companies, they could actually use this. Sure enough, that's what they do, and now they've distributed over 5 million meals in about I guess 4 years time. So and it's just growing exponentially. Every month we have about 90,000 people coming to the website and signing up.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I have got several friends who have what I would call purpose-driven businesses. Now that you've explained it to me, and some of them are not, huge enterprises or anything, but boy, it sure adds a such an interesting extra dimension to the business because obviously profit is motivating and important and all that stuff, and running a business is important because obviously it creates jobs and helps the economy and the country and everything else. But that extra added element of purpose is so and of helping people in an interesting way is so interesting and compelling.
Yeah, I'll add this, which is it's not just compelling from a feel good perspective. It's
Mm.
actually really good for business.
Yeah,
So
right.
ever since COVID, everybody's changed. Everybody else is like, hey, hang on a second, we can't just be just churning out the same kind of uh, factory mindset. We have got to be doing something. So these companies that are actually putting in their values first and actually figuring out a way how they impact the world, how what they do is actually making a positive or negative impact,
Mm.
are able to retain people, employees, a lot better. People are willing to take actually lower salaries based on I think it's a McKinsey study or a Deloitte study. I can't remember that Deloitte study that was saying that people are willing to take up to 10% less, knowing that their company was actually doing a better job at stewarding natural resources.
Right.
And then from a brand perspective, that's that's storytelling heaven as it's gold for guys like me, right? Because all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
hey, buy my product. versus this product is really good and is doing something more than just than just making somebody rich. This is
Right.
actually doing making a difference for your community, for
Right.
communities around the world, and for the planet, for environmental purposes. So yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I get too excited. So talk me off my soapbox if you need to, but
No,
we can talk about it.
I enjoy hearing about this. This is very exciting. I mean, we'd certainly like to work with companies like this too that have a really interesting and compelling story to tell. One of the things about direct mail marketing, which we're sort of heavily focused on, is it's got the ability to have a little bit longer format and to tell a little bit more involved story. And so we like to leverage brands that have a strong story and use that in direct marketing. Obviously, we're trying to get at the end of the day to a result and action, but I think it's easier to tell an interesting, compelling, longer story with print and something that's tangible rather than sometimes digital marketing has to be so brief and so uh, just billboards and headlines, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's
So
flashy images all day long. Our attention, we're in the attention economy, right?
right,
In
right,
the digital marketing space, this is an area that I struggle with because um, I love long form content. I love reading. I love videos that are 10 minutes long,
yeah,
like don't give me a 3 seconds, snippet. I want, give me content, give me something that's going to give me real value. And that's really tough in a world where it's, just scroll, like a flip of a thumb is all you need to ignore me forever.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
direct mail, I think that actually is in the right context the best way to achieve some valuable content and not just content, but valuable information that people actually can say, hey,
yeah,
now I feel like I have a resource that I could
yeah,
use. And we've used this for what fundraising. We've used it for political campaigns. We use it to sell homes.
yeah,
It all it's all a
yeah.
different format, but it makes a huge difference.
Yes, 30 years ago when I started in my career in direct mail marketing, I actually started as a print production coordinator at an agency that did nothing but nonprofit fundraising. So that's how I got my start in the business way back when. Um, well, let's see. Let me ask you another quick question about sort of what emerging trends do you believe will sort of shape the future of marketing at this point and moving forward?
Yeah, man, I think
If you have a crystal
everybody's
ball.
no, it's we AI, right? Agentic. We're not quite there where we would actually be replacing human beings, but I see this already in my business. I see it in my clients' businesses. It's
Mhm.
changing everything. And what's really fascinating is that it's affecting not not entry level, blue collar workers, which is what normally gets affected by any kind of disruption like this. It's affecting the managerial class and the C-level executives. Um, and everybody knows it's coming. And yet, how many times have I gone into a client meeting and they don't know what they're doing? How do you use this properly? How do you use this as a tool, as an augmentation of the human capacity, as a learning partner
Mhm.
versus, just seeing as a threat? So it's a
Yeah,
lot of what I do. Yeah.
we're noticing with AI that there's a lot of people that are trying to figure out how to use it, and it's obviously powerful and can do some great things, but it's the human AI interaction and the human AI coupling that really produces the most outstanding results. And so you have to have people that understand what they're doing and understand what they're looking for. One of my recent episodes with another marketing CMO, we were talking about this very exact thing. So it's very interesting.
Well, let me give you like some value that your listeners might actually benefit from. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a couple telltale signs that AI is involved, and it's that uncanny valley, right? We all can detect it. We don't know why we can detect it, but it's
Mm.
one of those things like what is off about this?
Mhm.
And there's certain phrases, certain ideas that AI has that blands it all down. It makes it all so bland. There's no point of view. And so, with my clients, what I do, the first thing that we do is we develop a two-page strategy that basically defines their point of view. And in some ways, you're really saying, who are you going to piss off?
Mm.
Somebody is you're gonna develop some enemies. Somebody's not gonna like this, but that's okay. That's a perfectly legitimate thing, but they can't not like you because you've been sneaky or trying to be as everything for everyone. So
Mhm.
developing a clear point of view allows you to uh, basically utilize or plug that right into ChatGPT and say, hey, based on this framework, give me an article, give me a letter, give me an email.
Right.
And
So you're
it
directing it
adapts.
with and feeding the ideas into it, just as if you were giving the ideas to a ghostwriter, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you got to train the model. So, I'll build custom GPTs for every single one of my clients. I'll load it with all sorts of branding information, all previous articles that they've ever written, blogs, websites, that type of thing. And then
Mhm.
we'll develop basically well, first thing, the point of view document, right? Which explains not just your why, but you're not this. You are this and not this.
Wow.
Um, and then we develop a messaging matrix. That messaging matrix tends to be 10 pages long and includes every detailed word that is use this word instead of this word. Say this, use this. We never talk to, they're not customers, they're members, or they're not members, they're, patients or whatever you want to call. Um,
Mm.
this particular messaging that goes into it. So
Wow.
that's the second document. And then the third document that we load in it is a prompt, right? So we pre-build all these prompts and we basically give them as part of our delivery package to a customer saying, hey,
Mhm.
you want to build marketing? We don't have to pay somebody to go build this stuff. You can still use ChatGPT, but use this prompt. And that prompt tends to be, paragraphs long. That's what people don't realize. People are like, hey, hey ChatGPT, give me an email to send to this customer.
Right.
Okay, what am I going to do with that? No. This tends to be multiple paragraphs, and it gives them, it gives the system who you are, what your voice is, who you sound like. One of my clients, like, we couldn't figure out who he sounded like, and then I listened to an interview with Sam Altman. I'm like, holy smokes, they sound exactly alike in real life. Like when they interact, I'm like, let's see what happens if we change your newsletter introduction to the voice of Sam Altman. Bingo. It was spicy. It was to the point. Like it was a little bit distracted, and I'm like, this is like that would have been something that would have taken me, I don't know, 10 hours 5 years ago. And now in seconds, I have what I want to say, the marketing message with the voice of the CEO. And it's revolutionized everything.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. That's some pretty cool stuff you're doing with creating custom GPTs and all these. And the document that you described sounded incredibly valuable for brands. I know, as a direct marketing agency, we love it when clients have strong brand guidelines. We use their brand guidelines and we learn them and internalize them and work them into their direct mail. Well, use them really as a guidepost to make sure that we're using their voice and their key messaging in everything that we do. So I think companies that have a strong brand and know who they are, it's easier to go to market and to really sell aggressively when they have that um, defined, right?
It's exactly it. It's the customer doesn't buy your product. They buy what you believe in, right? Like what you stand
Mm-hmm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm talking like a marketing guy, not like a a growth engine kind of guy. Like, there's a lot of my colleagues that are growth specific, they're growth marketers, and they're like, what is, of this A and B test? Like, what is this? What is the word that really triggers it? Is it free or no cost?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a little bit less of the point, which is, okay, well, what does somebody feel when they interact with you? Do they understand what you do for them? How they become part of this story. How are they the hero of this story? And how you're there to guide them, to use language from um, oh man, story brand. What's his name?
I
Donald
know who you're
Miller. There
talking
we
about.
go.
Yeah,
Donald
yeah,
Miller. Yeah, I don't want to take credit for it where I didn't make that up, but it
right.
is let people see themselves as the hero, and that's more of a branding exercise.
Well, it's important for all marketers to remember that people make decisions with emotion mostly, and then they search for the rational justification for those choices and those decisions, but it's emotion really at the end of the day that's causing a lot of decisions.
And it tends to be the same three emotions, honestly. I mean, I'll keep it PG, but it tends to be they're either hungry, they're angry, or they're how do we put this way? Excited. You know?
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, for sure. Those are definitely emotions that drive action. Yeah, we touch on fear and greed and all these things. Obviously, fear of loss is obviously super motivating in many cases, but
Yeah.
um,
Well,
yeah,
that's part of that. That's part of that point of view document is the Frodo, the Froto, the from to. Like, what is the world gonna look like if you take this product? That's one of the
uh,
things that we often forget is that, hey, here's the product, here's my solution.
yeah,
Especially very product-driven companies, they tend to focus so much on the, hey, this is an amazing product. You're like,
yeah,
I don't care about your product. I care about how that's going to make my life better,
yeah,
right? Is it really going to offer me that? And then like not just incrementally better, but like how is this $10 purchase actually going to make a massive improvement in the way that I do daily life?
right, right. Well, and with some of the purpose-driven brands that you're talking about, I think I feel like when I buy them, it's like, yeah, I need to buy socks anyway. I might as well buy socks where they give another pair away to somebody that really needs them. Like it's like a nice way to do good in the world just by making a normal everyday purchase that I would have bought anyway. And it's like if I have two coats that are the same, I'm gonna probably go with the one that has a little social benefit on top of the fact that it's a cool coat. Um, well,
Yeah, it's there. It's not just that. It's all sorts of ways that you're actually you like the story that they're telling you, right? Because
yeah,
it's be like, yeah, we're helping people, we're delivering socks, but like, what if those people don't want socks? Well, we know they want socks because we're in the field. They're talking to them. There's a human connection. That's what's so essential.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
Nonprofit gets that extremely well. They get heart. They get the
yeah,
like connection to human beings.
yeah.
But the business world, they're just that human to profit perspective that gets often lost because there's shareholder pressure.
Yeah. I feel like there's some companies that, push their founders to the forefront and their founders really tell the story. And then you feel like you've gotten to know the founder of the company. And you feel like they're cool people and good people to like doing good in the world. So you're like, yeah, I want to buy that guy's stuff. So it's actually tying it to the personality as opposed to, if I buy something on just off of some big giant website, I'm helping a billionaire buy a bigger and bigger super yacht or whatever the case might be.
Man, you're so right. That's another major trend that I'm seeing is that personality driven marketing is become basically a way to humanize the brand,
Yeah.
right? And we
Well,
don't
especially because
trust
your
just
face
brands
and
by
your video
themselves.
and everything out on social media gets so much exposure and it becomes more about the person who's running the company it can in some cases become more about the person that's running the company than the actual product, I think.
The spokesperson, essentially, that's why content creators have become such a commodity, right? The
Yeah.
idea that content creators actually are the future and you can't control them, which is really problematic for a marketer because, it's not a very clinical, neat little package. It's like, no, I gotta give you this product. I'm hoping you say the right thing. I'm gonna give you all the framework, but it's not necessarily there.
Hmm.
But it is people, we want to trust other people. Like we look at people whose lifestyle mimics that which we want. And we're like, hey, I respect that person. I like that person. That's
Hmm.
why I'm buying it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I see a huge trend for the future. The future really does belong to the content creators. And I think in-house content creators are going to become one of the most valuable people in the company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, social media has definitely become a more and more powerful tool over the past, 10 years since it really um, bloomed, I guess. But it's also interesting because of how the social media market is so fragmented right now. And it seems like people are sort of also kind of getting tired of social media. And in some cases, they're opting out of some of the big platforms in some cases because of, different political views or whatever the case might be. But it seems like that market or that channel is particularly challenging to reach like an entire target audience. We always like to say, well, everybody's got a mailbox, and we can hit the whole target market with direct mail. It's a little bit more difficult in social media, but I guess you have to be able to work on multiple different platforms, multiple different uh, channels to make it work.
Yeah, it's tough because we have some clients, for example, where we'll be doing a LinkedIn, campaign, but we'll also be doing an Instagram campaign, and they'll have
Mhm.
like the exact opposite results. Like it will not work in that channel versus in the other channel. So, an
Mm.
Instagram campaign, B2C, slightly younger demographic, and people are not motivated by the same calls to action as the LinkedIn page. LinkedIn, longer format, you know, people, presenting, having conversations, podcasts, great for LinkedIn, that type of thing. So, yeah, it's you're adapting at the same time. I've always been agnostic as to the tools. If
Mm.
ChatGPT goes away tonight, there's going to be somebody else going out there, and there are so many. You got Gemini, you got Grok, you have all sorts of different platforms that you can use.
Right.
But so I'm totally agnostic as far as that goes. What is important is always that consistency of messaging, and that includes direct mail. And you're right,
Yeah.
like there's not an opportunity to write a mean comment back at the bottom of a direct mail and send it back. I guess you could do that. Actually, funny story. One of my favorite was when I worked at one nonprofit. There was this guy that every month we send out a monthly appeal, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Sure.
and he'd always send change, a bunch of like loose change, and it was
Okay.
so heavy. And I'm like, the postage costs more than me to process all this change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but you
Oh,
never
yeah.
knew, right? Like that guy could just be doing that, and then he's got a huge inheritance that he's going to leave behind. So you treat them the same way, and you
Yeah.
you you
Yeah.
still process it. You thank them, you
Yeah.
do all of that. But yeah, direct mail, like not a whole lot of back and forth there. But when they do get back to you, it's sometimes pretty strange.
Yes, I know. I remember in my nonprofit days, we used a lot of business reply envelopes because back then there wasn't the internet, and so we were getting checks in the mail back with a business reply envelope, and that's postage paid business reply envelope,
Yeah.
which we had to stop using because occasionally people would tape them to a brick and send us a brick, postage paid on our dime. It's like, thank you for the brick. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, great. We're trying to do some charity here.
Yeah, we're trying to do good in
Yeah.
the world. Of course, their opinion of what was good in the world and our opinion might have differed a little bit, but that's how
Yeah,
it
I
goes.
mean, and then that applies to things like selling homes. I think so. That's my work a lot with in-house strategy. I no longer work necessarily with the real estate department with them, um,
Mm,
but unless it's in the brand development. If there's a client, one of the first things we got to develop the brand. Okay, great, brand new client. They need everything. They pull me in,
hmm
but they're still sending out mailers all the time, and it works. I mean, it works better than anything else because they get to, I mean, this is what we position as you own this neighborhood, right? Figure out your territory and you're going to own them. And
hmm
people are like, oh, isn't that outdated? No, no, no. Consistency matters. You know who the realtors are. They're actually in your neighborhood because every
Yeah,
week or every month, like you're getting something from them.
yeah,
Um,
right.
so
Well, there certainly is a
yeah.
lot of there can be bad direct mail marketing as well. Of course there's bad in every channel as well as there's good. That's where we try to come in and definitely help our clients be more effective at what they're doing so that they're getting the biggest return on their marketing investment. That's what really matters.
Yeah, man, I could talk to you. Okay, I don't know. I don't know how long we have to talk about it, but one of my daughter, she's 15. One of the things she loves to do is grab direct nail pieces. And
Mm.
I've ever since she was like 10 years old, like I've walked her through design principles. I'm like, okay, rule of thirds, fonts, legibility, bad Photoshop. Like also, it's all like we'll sit there and we'll just like circle, oh, this should be improved. There's no
Wow.
margin over here. The call to action's not there. There's no phone number. Like, how do I get
Jeez.
in touch with you? So
Maybe
I,
she
I,
should be a guest on my podcast. I think
yeah.
she
Oh, that'd be
sounds
so
like she
fun.
might be a direct marketing expert at this point.
She loves it.
That's great. I never thought about doing that with my daughters. They probably would have told me to go away, but I guess that's my problem, huh?
I have another daughter. She did tell me to go away. I'll tell you that. It's not for everyone.
Oh, yes, the joys of being a girl dad. Um,
Indeed.
well, a couple more quick questions for you before we wrap up. Can you tell me a little bit about a daily habit or a resource that you've used that has helped you in your career and in what you're doing today?
Oh man. Yes, I'm a bit obsessed with daily habits and resources and routines. Just because I'm what would you call it? ADD, like ADHD, like we talked at the beginning, right? Like it's shiny object syndrome gets me, distraction gets me. Um, so I got a couple for you, but I'll tell you one that I was just fascinated by. Used to overthink things and have these gigantic to-do lists, right?
Ooh.
Enormous to-do lists. And I realized the reason I'm doing this is because I need the satisfaction of just putting it down, because then I'll feel like it's something got done, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that wasn't actually getting anything done as anything pushing forward. So I got myself 3x5 cards and I keep them by my desk. And every day I am not allowed to fill out more than one 3x5 card of ideas and thoughts and everything like that. So I'll even write really small, but that's all I'll allow myself.
Mm.
And then from a task management perspective, I'll I basically time block. I go to my calendar, my Google Calendar, and I will just chunk out big times.
Mm.
And I'm pretty good about respecting those times, but it's
Mm.
it's really great to just have them in there to say, okay, this is what needs to get done here. And oh shoot, like that's due in 3 days. I- I got to move stuff around. So from a productivity standpoint, that's essential. And
Mhm.
then every day, just getting out, getting mobile, getting exercise in every day, and you know, eating right, and all the other things that everybody tells you. But in the way I joke around with a friend of mine, it's a lot of the problems that we have, you know, from a health perspective, from a mental health perspective, can really just be solved with, a 6 pack of Bud Light and a couple of Doritos. Sometimes you just gotta chill, man. Like it's take it easy. It's life is not as complicated as we want to make it.
Take a break
Yep,
and daydream a little bit. I like that idea.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Getting outside is wonderful too. That certainly
It
is
is.
important.
Yeah, being in Southern California, we're so spoiled. Getting outside is just like that's just what we do. There's no winter.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
it affects the pace of life here too. That's what's amazing. It's everything is so fast in Southern
mm,
California. Everybody has somewhere to go. You're
hmm
never gonna get to something that's like you got to go there. If you're a business here, like you're just grinding to try to make it work. It's
mm,
so expensive, and everybody's competing against you.
hmm
And I like that speed, so it's great for me. But I've been to places in the South, for example, where it's like, hey, you could have a mediocre Mexican food restaurant, not really serving Mexican food, just put a bunch of slimy cheese on it, and you'll be in business for 10 years. You know, Nothing against
Yeah.
the South. It's just that people are a lot more forgiving with the the level of expertise that you need to bring into stuff.
Well, competition for sure is more extreme for everything and for in California, and
Yes.
certainly would weed out the mediocre options for and keep the best ones.
Yeah. Have you heard of the California test?
No. What's the California
Well,
test?
the California test it's actually it's a marketing principle. Oh man, I can't remember the book. It'll come to me. But this idea that if you want to validate an idea, if you want to validate a market,
Mhm.
see what California is doing. If it's picked up in California, it's going to work the rest of
Yeah,
the world. So what happens in
interesting.
California actually, which, as crazy as we're seeing, and I don't, politically, like we're very odd.
Mhm.
Um, but it is it is true. So electric cars, 50% of electric cars in the United States are sold in California, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
There is definitely a market. It's just that everybody's lagging a little bit in accepting it. So
Yeah.
it's
I think
very interesting.
there are certain communities that are like that. I think Seattle might also be like that to some degree because like they do testing with products like bird scooters and things like that and the electric bikes and things like that. They brought that to Seattle first and then tried different concepts and they would be on our streets for 6 months and then they would all disappear and like wow, okay, and they moved on to something else and then they were just experimenting to see what would get traction before the and I guess Seattle people maybe more easy early adopters. They'll try new things more quickly than other places. I'm not sure where, but California is probably the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Seattle is, in my experience working with people in Seattle, absolutely. I think there's an innovative spirit that it just lives there. Just you
Yeah.
can't pull it out of it. It's like everybody's like, okay, I'm willing. That crazy thing you just said to me doesn't seem so crazy. Go ahead, go build it. Like
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Well, especially new ideas like, oh, here's a car that's just on the street and I can just walk up and get in it and drive it away with, all I have to have is this app and like so cool. I'll try it. Like absolutely. And people are just down for whatever. So anyway. Well, I have one more quick question before we wrap up, and that would be what advice would you give to aspiring marketers looking to make a significant impact in their career?
Oh, well, for one, I'm an aspiring marketer. I'd say I'll start with that. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still aspiring to be better every day, every morning I wake up. I'd say watch for the imposter syndrome. We all have it. Every single one of us, no matter how high you get up and like you are always like, this could be better. This could be, I'm clearly presenting a false side of myself that I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
right? You're just showing up and you're like, you go to a client meeting, you go to somebody to a prospect, and you're just like, if they only knew how much of a hack I am, they would never buy from me.
Yeah. I can
And
relate. Yeah.
yeah, I think everybody goes through that. I think so. So there's something wonderful about knowing that because the adults aren't coming.
Yeah.
If everybody struggles with this, no matter how much of an important CEO is, like the grown-ups are just never gonna show up.
Yeah.
Um,
I worked
and
my way.
I love that.
I'll tell you about imposter syndrome. I worked my way up in the agency world to VP of account services when I was 29 years old. And I was working on the AT&T account and it became the national AT&T direct marketing program. So it was a massive program and I was basically in charge of a big agency team that was doing all this work. And I definitely had imposter syndrome. And I was like, wow, what am I doing here? This is crazy. And the agency owner said to me, Rick, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And so that helped ease my imposter
Brilliant.
syndrome a little bit. I don't know. It helped a little bit.
I don't think it ever goes away, but I think that the empathy that we can have for each other, like the older I've gotten, the more experience I've gotten, the more I realize I just have to relax. People, they'll want to work with me because I'm me, you know.
Yeah.
And sure, there's tons of competitors out there. There's tons of people that are more experienced that have a lot better, that have written more books than I have,
Hmm.
and I've written none, as we were talking about earlier. And
Well, none yet. None yet.
That's
But
right.
there's one.
It's
There's
coming.
one just right around the corner, I think.
It's in me. It just needs to be,
Right.
there need to get some more caffeine in me, and maybe that will fix it.
Yeah.
But it was, I think this idea that like, no, we're all just people and we're all
Yeah.
humans. And what really connects us is not how smart we are, how much information I can throw your way, or how, impressive I look. It's, do you really care? Do you really care about this? And are you willing to are you willing to be in the trenches with me when,
Mhm.
when the ship starts sinking?
Yeah.
Like, can you work with me? And those types of people were, the people you can call and be like, hey, I got this problem. Will you help me?
Yeah.
And that person says, yeah, like, let me, yeah, I'm busy right now, but how does 12 p.m. or how does 12 a.m. sound like? Like, can we start at midnight? You're like, I
Wow.
like those people. You never forget them and you're loyal. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that would be more of a mindset issue there for aspiring marketers. From a non-mindset issue, from an actual um, tactical perspective, I'd say most jobs are going to go away. Most marketing is going away.
Mm.
AI is going to automate just about everything in the traditional track, right?
Mm.
So I'd say get really, really, really good at understanding how to train and how to prompt, right? Not just learning how to write better prompts, those you can download, you can get from other marketers like me,
Yeah.
but learn how to train AI to do the thing that you want it to do.
Yeah.
Um, and
It makes sense that in the future we're all going to be sort of AI engineers a little bit. That definitely feels like the direction that things are moving in.
yeah, I think it's solved a lot of this stuff. It's
Yeah.
solved a lot of the day-to-day kind of operational for me as a marketer. I mean, I don't think
Right.
there's a day that I'm not on ChatGPT, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a day.
Well, I think, with the ability to create content at a rapid rate too, the issue is going to be um, still people have to create content that breaks through the clutter, right? Like there's so much marketing that people are hit with on a daily basis in all different ways, all different channels. But what's going to get people to actually stop and pay attention? I mean, as the more we're bombarded with marketing, the better and better we get at tuning it out. So there has to be some way to tell a different story, to put a different spin on things, to differentiate, to make it feel different and compelling. So that's where I think human beings can be creative more so than AI.
You absolutely nailed it. I mean, that's kind of that back to the point of view perspective. It's you don't want to be better. Being better is incremental. Being different is blue ocean, right? Like you just have everything. Like there's no competition when you're just a totally different category. And again,
Yeah.
not my original ideas. Comes from a book called uh Play Bigger.
Mm.
Play Bigger.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that idea of category creation where you're just in a totally different world.
Wow.
That's what's gonna set you apart.
Oh, that's great advice. Well, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. So sadly, I have to wrap this up, but thank you so much for your time and this opportunity to learn from you today. Where can people learn more and where can people get in touch with you?
Yep, check me out on marketingimpact.us, or you can also check me out on LinkedIn. I reply to just about everybody that wants to connect with me. Christopher Erkelens is my name, and if you type it in, I'm sure you'll find it. So
We'll put your website and things like that in the show notes, and so if people want to look in the show notes, they'll find your contact information there too.
fabulous. I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. All right, we'll talk to you later.
That's a wrap for this episode of Response Drivers. Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's insights valuable, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you left a review. Got a question or a topic you'd like us to cover? Just drop us a message at responsdrivers@rpmdm.com. Until next time, keep driving response and making your marketing work smarter.